you tell them one thing. Just win, baby.
It's because you're not feeling Uzi.
I want to talk about running back Josh Jacobs. There has been a lot of talks going around, why the Raiders haven't given him a deal. I know that they wanted to tag him, but according to Ian Rappaport, it seems as if Josh Jacobs has yet to sign the franchise tag and could risk missing the offseason program starting April 17th. Now, that is definitely something that we do not want to hear. Josh Jacobs was a guy that didn't get his fifth-year option picked up last season, and I do understand where, the regime was going with this. They didn't think that he was going to go and do what he did last season. In 2022, we've talked about this many times. Josh Jacobs had his best year of his whole career, rushing for 1,653 yards, averaging 4.9 with 12 touchdowns. He was the leading rusher in the whole NFL last year. So you would think after that type of showing, he would easily get a deal, especially with guys like Darren Waller going out of the building, Derek Carr being shipped off, and even Hunter Renfrow just teetering right now, that Josh Jacobs would get a deal done. Like I said before, even though he didn't get his fifth-year option picked up, he still had to go out there and prove himself to the team, and he took a chance on himself as well. Going into the offseason programs, we brought all these running backs in, Brandon Bolden, Amir Abdullah, even going out and drafting a guy in Zamir White in the NFL draft. We brought all these running backs to come in because we thought we were going to run a running back by committee. And then in the very first game in preseason, the Hall of Fame game, the Raiders put out Josh Jacobs, the only starter on this team to go out there and play a couple of snaps, and he looked great out there. Fast forward into the 2022 season, he lit it up, and he was one of the main reasons why we won so many games in 2022. Well, we didn't really win that many games, only 6 games, but he was the main reason why we won most of those games. You look at the beginning of last season, Josh Jacobs was off to a slow start, and most of that coming due because Josh McDaniels wasn't really trying to utilize him that much. We were trying to go off of the back of Derek Carr and Devontae Adams in the passing game, but that didn't really work out. But the moment we started utilizing Josh Jacobs in the running game, we started to excel much more. And there were stints where Josh Jacobs would have 3 touchdowns in one game. I've alluded to this before. The season prior to that, in 2021, the season we actually went into the playoffs and made that huge comeback at the end of the season without no John Gruden, without no Henry Ruggs. Josh Jacobs put this team on his back and went out there and ran for his life and helped this team get into the playoffs. I know that there might be a lot of people out there that are iffy about paying a running back some big money, but I feel like Josh Jacobs is worth every penny for the Raiders. More than any receiver out there, more than any quarterback that we have on the roster, at least for right now, Josh Jacobs is going to be the bell cow. He's going to be the anchor of the offense, and not bringing him back. I know that running back is a position that you can always rotate in and out, bring in new guys, but I feel like Josh Jacobs is a homegrown talent that we need to keep on this roster. But it seems like I'm not the only one that thinks this outside of Raider fans, because former running back Chris Johnson came out on the 33rd team and also gave his thoughts on this whole situation.
When you think about the Josh Jacobs situation, it's just crazy to me, like, for him to do all that he did, put up all these rushing yards, all these touchdowns, and you don't believe that he's probably the most important guy on the offense and you're going to tag him? Like, it just don't make sense to me. Like, you get Darren out of there. You get quarterback. You ship him away. So why can't we get Josh Jacobs a deal? It just don't make sense at this point.
And somebody that does agree with CJ2K is none other than Josh Jacobs himself, tweeting out, "It gets deeper for real, but I'm not going to violate."
What do you mean by that?
And reading that, what could he mean by that? There's a lot of things going on that we don't see on the outside. And it'll definitely be real sad if we can't get a deal done with Josh Jacobs. It's crazy how a whole year can change a lot of things. Because just last year, Josh Jacobs was basically trying to fight his way on the roster, and now he might not even be at training camp. So there's a lot of things that go into this that I don't know too much about, and I know that the Raider Nation has questions as well, but hopefully the Raiders can get a deal done soon and bring Josh Jacobs back, because we know that Jimmy Garoppolo, outside of having a great defense, really thrives off of having a really great running game, and Josh Jacobs is the main guy that runs that show. So like I said before, I hope we do bring him back. You look at his career so far since he's been drafted, he's had a 1,000-yard season each and every single season outside of the 2021 season. And according to PFF, the highest career grades from the 2019 draft, Josh Jacobs is at the top of that list over guys like AJ Brown, Nick Bosa, even Deebo Samuel with a 93.1. So even though we know that the Raiders don't really have a great track record when it comes to the NFL draft, they at least got somebody that has been holding it down since 2019. With all that said, Raider Nation, what are your thoughts on this whole situation? What should the Raiders do? If you were in the Raiders' shoes, would you guys re-sign Josh Jacobs to a big contract that he deserves, or would you guys let Josh Jacobs walk, or maybe try to get a trade deal done to send him somewhere else? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now moving on to some other news. I know we weren't able to get in on the Jeff Okudah sweepstakes, but there's another defensive player that's out there that's still young that the Raiders could possibly go out and get. According to Adam Schefter, he tweeted out just yesterday, Bucs Pro Bowl linebacker Devin White has in fact requested a trade. Bucs do not want to trade him, but he wants to be traded as he's coming up on his 5th-year option. Now this is definitely an interesting report that has been going around, and obviously as Raider fans, we're always going to say, Raiders, go get this guy, because we all know that our defense is lacking, and it's been something that we've been needing to work on for the past couple of years. As you guys all know, Devin White has famously been known for being drafted right after the guy we got in 2019, Cleveland Farrell. And, you know, he had a lot of words towards the Raider Nation, you know, going back and forth, but I'm not going to get too much into that. As far as Devin White, would he be a good fit for the Raiders? I believe so. I know there's a lot of people that have a lot of questions of him and his coverage skills, and I'm still not worried about that. Devin White is still a baller. He's an athletic freak, has all the skills to go out there and get the job done at the linebacker position. You look at Devin White in his 4-year career, he has been a tackling machine for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, having 483 total tackles, 20.5 sacks, and 1 interception. He's still considered a young player in the league at 25 years old with a lot of upside still, and I feel like in this defense, having a guy like Devin White would only help it. I'm always down for bringing players on that could help this defense out, you know, some big names here and there. And I know that the Raider Nation might be 50-50 on this decision, but if the Raiders were to make a move and trade for him, I'm all for it. Now, the biggest question is, what would that price be? I don't know for sure. I wouldn't really give up a 2nd or maybe a 1st round, maybe a 3rd round. 3rd, 4th round, something around there, then I'll be okay with that. You can never have too many defensive players. But just like all the big names that hit the open market or even the trade block, I feel like the Raiders most likely aren't even going to go get this guy. I just wanted to bring this up to you guys because I know there's going to be a lot of Raider fans out there asking, yo, should we go out and get Devin White? If it was up to me, I would say yes, but it's easier said than done. If you were in the Raiders' shoes, would you go and trade for Devin White, and what would you give up to acquire him? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, one big name that I've been talking about in the NFL draft outside of all the quarterbacks have been defensive tackle Jalen Carter. And according to Vinny B in the Place to Be, he tweeted out earlier today that the Raiders are visiting with Georgia defensive tackle Jalen Carter in Henderson. On the field, he's exactly what they need as a disruptive force on the interior of their defensive line. Now, he has to convince them he won't be an off-field concern. This is some big news, you know, because there's a lot of people that thought the Raiders wouldn't even consider bringing him on, but I feel like there's been a lot of smoke thrown here and there, and if he is sitting there at number 7 and we don't move up or move back, I feel like he's the best player available for the Raiders, and we have to bring him on to add on to this defense of young players, especially on the defensive line, because he definitely could be a perfect fit, you know, alongside of Chandler Jones and Max Crosby on the D-line to get to the quarterback. It's just a matter of if his head is in the game of football. And if it is, and if the Raiders organization is impressed with this visit, I wouldn't rule this out of the realm of possibility that the Raiders could select him in the NFL draft. I know when I talked about this before, there was Raider fans out there saying, you know, there's a lot of top defensive players that had concerns going into the NFL draft that ended up becoming some of the top defensive players in the game today. You know, Micah Parsons is one of those examples that a lot of people bring up. And if 3 of the 4 quarterbacks are selected by the time we get to number 7, then Jalen Carter definitely got to be the guy that we draft in the 1st round. But again, Raider Nation, I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Should the Raiders consider bringing on Jalen Carter even with all the off the field things going on? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. With that being said, Raider Nation, until the next video, this is your boy some more Raider, and your boy is
Started off in Oakland, now we here. Thought that we was done, we just hit another gear. Look, started off in Oakland, now we here. Hey, pull up with the nation in the silver black gear. Look, 4 games straight, we in the playoff. Shout out to the Chargers fans, y'all enjoy the layoff.